Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by today and watch. We want to talk about, well, how things are just stuck right now. That's right. This ship over in the Middle East in the Suez Canal, most of you have probably heard about it, but we want to get into it of how significant this is. That and the entire shipping and logistics supply chain and how it's all getting backlogged, not just because of this, but this one could be the straw that's broke the camel's back. A lot of people might say, well, how can just one ship amongst thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of shipping, ships that go all over the planet in just one particular spot cause so much chaos? Well, we want to talk about that, the significance of that, and what the repercussions are, along with other things that are happening in the whole supply chain globally. And how it's going to affect supplies and just the global economy. It's quite significant. In fact, it could be more significant than all the things that's happened with this health crisis leading up to now. Before we get started, I want to mention a company that we use here at the Homestead to protect ourselves when we're online. It keeps you more hidden from hackers, from phishing, software that you would find in Google and Facebook and places like that. It protects your online activity and how they can get into your personal information, including governments. And it's a company called Viper VPN. It's an excellent VPN service. It's one of the top rated on the planet. And the monthly cost is very small. If you want to go to hidewithtravis.com, that's hidewithtravis.com. You can find out more information about it. If you're in the certain market looking for a VPN service, it's a really good one to take a look at. All right, so on to this ship over in the Suez Canal. This is significant, folks. This is one of the largest ships on the planet. This thing is absolutely massive. I mean, to levels that most people just can't even wrap their heads around. So it's one of the largest ships. Capable of holding over 18,000 shipping containers. And it's in a place that could quite possibly be the most strategic place on the planet when it comes to the global economy. It's in the Suez Canal, but not just in the Suez Canal. It's in one particular spot in the Suez Canal that, because of this happening, it's turned sideways and it's gotten stuck. If it had happened in most of the rest of the Suez Canal, the area is wide enough for a ship to probably go around it. But in this one particular spot, it's just so narrow that a ship this big turns sideways and gets stuck, and it absolutely shuts it down. And I'll be showing some little slides here, little pop-ups, as I speak. And you can see with some of these the amount of ships that are already backing up on both sides, north and south of this, in the canal and the Red Sea and up in the Mediterranean, that normally go through this Suez Canal for their shipping, and now they're just stranded. They're stuck there. Okay, they're having to make the decision: do we wait this out, or we try to go all the way around the Africa, because that takes several weeks to do that. And so there's this, just a huge bottleneck of supplies, everything from toilet paper to oil to car parts and food, and virtually everything that you purchase and buy, use on a daily basis can possibly go through this Suez Canal. Again, it's maybe the most strategically important piece of property on the planet, and that's not just by my own words. They estimate right now, and this could worsen, but right now it's basically held back at least 13% of the planet's shipping supplies just because of that one ship. Now you might say, well, 13% isn't a whole lot. If you add that on top of the already weakened global economy and global shipping and logistics because of the health crisis, and then something that's been happening over the last few weeks and months of this shipping container crisis, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Basically, there's just this shortage of shipping containers. You add all this together and you take another 13% hit. That is massive. It's huge. And if you just get online and look at some of the headlines, again, it's not just me that's saying this. This could be one of the most epically huge problems in global economy and global shipping in our lifetime, if not ever. So the long-term repercussions of this, I mean, will they get it unstuck? Eventually they will. They're saying that it could take weeks to get this thing unstuck, but it probably will happen eventually, right? But just the backlog, as we've seen throughout the whole health crisis, you can't just, flip the off switch and expect that when you turn it back on, it's just going to immediately go back to normal. It takes a long time for things to start to kind of flow again once the brakes have been put onto something. So the repercussions here are pretty significant. So let's just talk specifically about this whole ordeal. And I think that this is quite fishy. I'm not convinced that this was an accident. I don't want to go off into a bunch of conspiracies, but listen, this is a massively huge ship, and it's in a very narrow spot, particularly narrow spot in the Suez Canal. And even major news is reporting, and I don't even know if I want to mention, like verbally say this, but look at this image here that I'm showing you. This is where they've tracked the ship as it enters into the Suez Canal. So it's out in the Red Sea. And, if you know anything about shipping, a ship this size, just to get it to turn around is a big feat. I mean, it's major. We're not talking a little fishing boat where it'll just kind of spin around on itself. This is a massively huge ship, weighing over 200,000 tons. And for it to turn at all is a big deal. Look, this is the pattern that it made, turning in circles. You can see, probably kind of get an idea of what it did just before it entered the Suez Canal and got stuck. Here's a bigger image. See how it made the pattern and went up and got stuck at the Suez Canal. Some people are saying that this was almost like, showing the middle finger just before they did it, like it was done on purpose. Now everyone is saying officially it's all an accident. They've apologized for it. But this is pretty significant. I want to also add that while this is the first time a ship has been stuck in the 150 years of the Suez Canal, it's not the first time that things have been shut kind of down like this. It did happen once before, and that's what started the Six-Day War between Egypt and Israel, or at least it was one of the major events that started that Six-Day War, was the controversy and fighting over the use of the Suez Canal. So it is a very significant place. There's already millions and millions of barrels of oil that is just sitting there. That it's either American oil being sold or oil scheduled to come to America, and you have to realize that the oil industry here in America has taken a big hit because of the pipelines shut down and the things that the Biden administration has done to kind of hamper it. So we've gone from being oil independent to oil dependent, which we're getting, means that we would be getting some oil from the Middle East potentially. And now that's not going to happen, or at least it's going to take a lot longer and cost more, because that canal is where it would go through to get here. There's also the consideration of food. In logistics and shipping, things are timed pretty precisely. And so there's a worry that a lot of perishable items will be no good by the time they get to their destination, because this trip is going to take probably weeks longer, depending on whether they go around Africa to get to their destination, or if they sit there and wait until this, ship is unstuck. Just the whole sticking of it is kind of suspicious, because typically, it costs something close to $500,000 in toll fees just to go through this canal. And when you go through it, usually the captain of the ship is not in control. It's usually, canal tugboats, pilot boats that take the ship through. So how is it that this ship got stuck? They're saying it was some high winds, but come on, this is one of the largest ships on the planet, and there's ships that go through there every day, and high winds this one time caused it. Seems really suspicious to me. Then there's, on top of all this with this shipping container, and I mean, there's news headlines all over the place talking about the significance of it, how it's going to affect global trade everywhere. It is massively significant, folks. Then you add to that the fact that there's this shipping container shortage crisis. It's been going on for a few months now. Some people are saying there's not enough shipping containers, and some people are speculating that maybe China is withholding all the shipping containers. But the fact is that there's just not enough shipping containers right now on the planet in use to move products around. There's farmers that are not able to sell their crops overseas. There's parts trying to come in from China that can't get here. There's parts, containers sitting in ports that aren't able to be moved. Some of this is due to just the whole shutdown of the pandemic. Like we've said, you shut a system down this massive, you don't just start it up again immediately. It takes a while. And some of it possibly could be that China is just absolutely restricting the use of these, because a lot of them do come from China and they're holding them up over there. At least that's some of the speculation. And then on top of all this is another kind of thing that I think is connected to it. You've got this down in Houston, Texas. The Houston and that area is a major refinery area. And if you remember just a few weeks ago, they had all these massive snowstorm and cold temperatures, and they had to go through and shut down a lot of these refineries because they were freezing up. Again, this is something you don't just turn the switch back on. There's a lot of things that, even I don't understand, but there's some damage that was done to some of these refineries during the cold temperatures. And just the process of doing an emergency shutdown, from what I understand, it has caused some kind of crystallization in the line, so they have to go through and clean it, test them, pressure test, and they're saying that it could be weeks, before a lot of these refineries are up and running at full speed again. And so we're already seeing shortages just due to that. They're talking about plastic shortages, and because of the refineries and the systems down there that had to be shut down and the damage that was done. My wife and I were talking about this, and she said it just amazes her that, the more and more we learn about these kind of things, the more we see that our entire system, not just here in America, but here globally, is really very fragile. And it is, and that's something that I've been talking about for years now on this channel, and even before then, that the average person does not realize how fragile our whole food supply system, our whole shipping and infrastructure, everything is really, really delicate. And it doesn't take very much to just cause it to topple over. And whether it's by accident or by an orchestrated event, which it's starting to look that way, I think, starting all the way back with the pandemic, maybe even more further back, and then all these events, leading up to right now, and I'm sure more events to come. It does look like there's some orchestration to it, but what it is doing is it's bringing down our entire supply chain system. It is making it more and more difficult. Prices are going up. Goods and services are just becoming harder and harder to come by. This is an ongoing effect, folks. I don't think I have to explain it, but I'm going to anyways, or at least point it out. This is why you need to stock up. I mean, this is serious, folks. I know you're saying, well, it's only 13%. I can deal with 13% less stuff, okay? If I go to the store and there's 13% less goods on the, on the shelf, people are survived. Not really, okay? Again, grocery stores are stocked very precisely with just enough stuff to get them through typically to the next delivery. And if there's 13% less, that's catastrophic, okay? A lot of people, when they think of this kind of stuff, they think of, large numbers, 70, 80, 90% would be what it would take to bring a system down. But a system that is so finely tuned and sits on a knife edge all the time when it comes to our whole supply chain system, and that's all of it. That's, foods, utilities, oil, goods, parts, everything that's so finely tuned. 13% is a significant drop, folks. And so, again, I know I'm beating the drum constantly, and some of you are probably getting tired of it. Maybe, this is something that you can use to talk to your family, your spouses, or friends and neighbors to wake them up. This isn't a left or right issue. This is an issue of why you need to be prepared. You need to be stocked up on stuff. You need to know how to do things. You need to have skills and knowledge and the tools to do those things. It's why it's so important to be more and more self-sufficient. You know, not everyone can live completely off grid and completely off the land, but everyone can make steps in their lives to become more self-sufficient. And the more you are, the less you're dependent upon this fragile system that is breaking right before our eyes. I mean, we are watching a massive dam crack more and more, and little chunks of concrete flying out and more water dribbling out. And it doesn't take very much longer for that to completely topple down. At some point, one of these straws that breaks or that's added to that camel's back is going to cause it to completely collapse. I mean, you can't just keep damaging a system this significantly. I know a lot of you might think, oh, he's over-exaggerating again. It's one boat in the water that's stuck. Even if it was done on purpose, which I don't know how a real accident like this could happen, but hey, it's just a boat in the water. I mean, come on, guy. How can that have such a significance globally and here in the United States? Well, it can. I didn't even realize it at first. I mean, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh man, that's a bad deal. But then the more I'm digging into it and I look at the numbers and the significance of it, and then you look at all the ships that's backed up and the length of time it's going to take to turn all those ships around and go all the way around Africa, or to just sit there and wait till it's fixed, that's significant. Some of those ships may not have enough fuel to do that because they weren't planning on taking that kind of trip all the way around Africa. Some of the products on those ships may be spoiled by the time. You know, there's massive significance here, folks. So you have got to, if you're not doing so, and I know most of you are, most of you are awake enough and you've been stocking up, you've been getting prepared as possible, as much as you can. But, you know, we're seeing more and more how this system around us is so frail and antiquated and broken down. It's kind of like our infrastructure system and our whole utility power grid system. It's antiquated, it's frail, and it doesn't take much to bring it down. And what are the things that I've pointed out today really aren't even all of it. I mean, I could go on and on if I wanted to make a much longer video. But there are several things in play, and a lot of people are starting to believe that this one particular ship in this one particular spot on this planet is going to cause a true backlog and breakdown of an already frail and damaged system. So again, stock up, learn, practice, skills, tools, land, self-sufficiency, you know, mental preparedness, all these kind of things. This is serious. We shall see. There are some people that hope that this thing could be unstuck in days, but most of the experts that I've seen have said that this is significant and it easily could take several weeks to get this ship out of there. And then if they're ever able to show, prove, or strongly indicate that this was a purposeful event of some type of terrorist attack or some type of event just to cause a bottleneck, I mean, that's you know, war drums beating right there. So pay attention to what's going on, folks, but most importantly, get your house in order. All right, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.